Biden decided to threaten the American public with, come on, do a civil war. He didn't do a Tim Pool here, which has been like, well, I'm sick of waiting for it, so just do it. So, so here's the first thing in which the post-millennial are posting, breaking, Biden announced major crackdown on gun dealers. We're not changing the Constitution, we're enforcing it. Not
Now,
sure that works.
remind me, the exact wording is shall not be infringed, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Seems that to enforce the Constitution requires absolutely no action on the part of the executive.
I mean, if anything, at the moment, would be repealing some of the restrictions.
Yes, it would, yeah. So it seems that like the way it was worded is specifically designed to make any kind of government action regarding firearms to be an infringement and therefore to be anti-constitutional.
Yeah, so he says to combat gun violence and violent crime, we're going to stem the flow of firearms.
That's right, because it's legal guns that are involved in all of the shootings in Chicago, no doubt.
Yeah. He also lists off a bunch of other stuff that's not so interesting, like advanced community policing, invest in evidence-based community violence.
Yeah,
blah, 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 blah.
leftist
Stop
dog
rhetoric.
whistles to say that we don't have any other solutions. And so if we just waffle at you for long enough, you might think we're trying to do something.
So this got some good backlash, but then the best part is when he tried to defend this, and he gave a speech in which he essentially dared the American people to declare war on the American government and nuke it, which, stunning and brave. I don't know how else to put it, but let's play this clip of him essentially risking you to declare war on them.
The Second Amendment, from the day it was passed, limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of the blood of patriots, you know, and all the stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you want to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it.
That's total bull.
He just threw the entire American project under the bus with that statement.
But he just throws stuff out and like, so if I mean, I don't know what he's quoting Thomas Jefferson from like an 1787 letter where he's like, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It's its natural manure. Yeah, I mean, fine. If you want to overthrow the government, you need nukes. Name a government that's been overthrown by nukes.
Like the Taliban are laughing at you.
Yeah.
The North Vietnamese are laughing at you. You don't need nukes. I mean,
absolutely not. That's like there isn't a single government on earth that's been overthrown through nuclear action.
I mean, it might help, but
but even the Japanese government surrendered. They weren't overthrown.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but also just at the same time, like people running into the Capitol with no guns. That's an insurrection. That was a coup.
Exactly.
And also, but if you need to do a coup, you need nukes. One of these standards doesn't fit the other. But I want to go through the wording there very slowly because the rambling nature of the man makes him difficult to pin. So he says, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun and the type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. No.
That's not true.
This to believe this, you have to take the position that the Founding Fathers believed that you should be able to own a musket and that's it for all time. As Stephen Crowder has pointed out, that is a nonsensical statement.
But I mean, there are examples of people outfitting their own private ships with cannons.
Yeah, and there's also the puckle gun and so on and so forth, different kinds of musket-type weapons in the era that can fire multiple shots. So this idea that you should only be able to fire one
and can
is
you
also
not
nonsensical.
Actually buy tanks in America?
You can buy... I think you can get hold of tanks. I'm not sure about fighter jets and whatnot, but it's a long, restricted process.
Who can afford a fighter jet?
So,
yeah. That's like Jeff Bezos' private...
Well, there's the occasional sort of like, rich nut job who just has these huge armories of every gun on the planet.
Which I would, if I was in
America. There's a lot of paperwork involved, but my understanding is you can eventually get such things.
Yeah.
So,
So
it's your God-given right.
Well, that's the point. And so Joe Biden is talking nonsense. But I find this this part... okay, sorry.
So the next part says, well, the tree of liberty is not water of the blood of patriots.
Joe, you didn't understand that, did you?
Butchering it. You couldn't buy... Sorry. What happened is that there's never been... If you wanted, you think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
He thinks that toppling a government is what he's going to do to Saddam Hussein, that sort of thing. So he thinks it's an outside military force, not a coup. Like, he doesn't seem to understand how internal revolutions work.
But that's the part I'm saying where he's throwing the entire American project under the bus with that statement. The fact that you can't overthrow the tyrannical British government. I mean, that was the whole goddamn point of the Americans, is they're like, the British are tyrannical because they're making us pay a stamp tax. So, overthrow the whole thing.
1%?
God, I wish we had the same thing.
Yeah, it's just based, actually.
Yeah. So you need the guns to be able to overthrow them. And he's like, yeah, that's not how that works. And we're like, well, how did America get founded then? What are you talking about?
Why are you so worried about it then? You know?
That's the foundation of the United States, which is that, we have the Constitution, and the second part of it is to defend the first part of it with force. If the government tries to be tyrannical...
I know how to. Joe, how did the Communist Party in China come to power? You tell me. I know you're a big fan of them. You tell me how they came to power. Was it that it grew out of the barrel of a gun or something? Perhaps, maybe. Is that ringing any bells if American history is off the table here?
They had Soviet support in the last half of it, the Civil War.
But they fought a war.
But there was no nukes involved. So
that's true. Oh, I suppose that's true. But yeah, this is nonsense, right? Sorry, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, so just the last point he says. The point is that there's always been the ability to limit the type of weapon. I'm not reading this, by the way. It's just the way he talks. That can be owned and who can own it. Which there have been limits on the ownership of guns in the United States, sure. But are they constitutional? Are they the right thing to do? Are they a breach of your fundamental human right to keep and bear arms? He has no opinion on that, as he's literally stated out, because the American project, by his own words there, it doesn't matter, because he's thrown the whole thing under the bus by saying that the Tree of Liberty doesn't need watering with the blood of patriots and tyrants from time to time.
The Tree of Liberty is not water of the blood of patriots, if that's supposed to be an English sentence. And the tyrants, Joe. Mr. legitimately elected. But this is the thing, right? So this is a bizarre position for him to stake out, because half the country hates him, right? Absolutely hates him. Half the country literally thinks he's an illegitimate president. Do you really think you have such confidence in the support of the military were a significant section of the country to rise up? That's the question. Do you think that all of the generals will be like, well, Joe Biden was elected, we know, because hundreds of thousands of ballots arrived at 4 a.m, and that's how democracy works. So Joe Biden's definitely the real president, and there's nothing illegitimate about this, and him trying to overthrow the Constitution, abolish the Second Amendment, bring critical race theory. This is all stuff that I will literally fight and die for. And I certainly won't join the people trying to overthrow him.
The servicemen of the United States make their pledge and oath to the Constitution of the United States.
Yes, and Joe Biden is definitely the prime defender of the Constitution of the United States, not someone who's busy mutilating it. So it's very, very interesting to me that Joe Biden is so confident that he honestly thinks that the military-industrial complex of the United States and all of the soldiers that are part of it are just like, yes, I'm definitely siding with Joe Biden.
There's also something to mention here, which is I wonder if there's a legal argument then, because the President of the United States is saying that, well, to overthrow the government, you need F-15s and nukes. Well, the Second Amendment is there to overthrow the government, in which case, you're sort of arguing that not only should F-15s and nukes be legally able to be owned by the American public, but also that they should be reasonably available to the American public. Because if you put undue barriers in the way of your right to keep and bear arms, then that's unconstitutional. In which case, there should be no undue barriers to accessing suitcase nukes for the American public.
Just looking forward to the Supreme Court decisions that make nukes actually a human right.
Yeah, well, they are. Yeah, they literally are.
Literally turning America into Fallout.
Oh, God, I look forward to it. So, then there's the next thing here, which is just also strange. Like, I hate to keep doing this, but it's, because I remember with Trump, there was endlessly, man has said this. And to be honest, half the time it was based. And that was the thing they were complaining about. But with Joe, it really is, incoherent and also absurd. So, the next one here is from this chap, Ben, he's posted. We all know Joe Biden has no clue what Latinx even is, because Joe Biden decided to say that Latinx people, Latinos, for some reason he's adopted the woke language.
Mexicans. That's what you're talking about.
Won't get the vaccine because they're all illegal and therefore they'll all be deported if they get the vaccine. Let's go for the next clip.
It's awful hard as well to get Latinx vaccinated as well. Why? They're worried that they'll be vaccinated and deported.
Okay, so one of the things that I like about this, so ignoring the woke language for a minute, is just like I love the idea that Latinx actually just means illegal Latino.
Ooh.
Like that's how we're gonna do it. The X is just for like get out. Like that's how I want to see it from now on.
But maybe he's speaking in the strict sense. The number of Hispanic people who consider themselves to be Latinx is about 1%. So maybe Joe Biden's like, well, look, 1% of the Hispanics here are illegals and they don't want to get deported.
Yeah, so there's that, which not great. And then there's just the creepy stuff he does. So he was giving a press conference after he made the statement about, bring on the Civil War bros. And this one here, like, it's not interesting at all, but it's his demeanor that's interesting. So let's play the next clip so you can see.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential this week for childcare.
Weird,
That's
but okay.
so strange.
One-off. Not one-off. Let's play the next one.
I'm not being critical of y'all. I really mean this. It was legitimate questions you're asking me. Asking me, well, guess what? Employers can't find workers. I said, yeah, pay them more.
Just a weird optics thing there. Like, why? Why do you have to literally be Creepy Joe?
But this is the worst argument as well, because, okay, right. On one hand, you have the free market, and the free market operates due to the constraints that it is under, the amount of money that's available, the amount of workers that are available, the amount of demand that there is for various services and products. And Joe Biden has come in and been like, yeah, so I'm the government, and I'm just going to give people loads of money. And the free market, like, well, that means that people aren't working because you're literally paying them to sit at home. And he's like, well, pay them more. It's like, with what? We haven't got any workers, which means we can't earn any money, which means you've undermined our businesses.
You've already taken our money in the form of taxes and given it to people for not working.
Exactly. How can we pay them more if you're literally using the state power to destroy our businesses? How does that happen, Joe? And moreover, why do you think that just bribing the American public with their own money is a good idea? I mean, that's the opposite of prudence, in my opinion. And especially the coronavirus is over. Why don't you just drop it now? But this is wild, and this is why it looks like he has been part of some kind of revolution. I mean, he's completely changing the framework upon which the United States rests. He's revising the Constitution, I guess is a generous way of putting it, when it comes to firearms. He's completely upending the idea of people earning a living, and he's totally undermining private business. So it looks like there's a kind of soft socialist revolution in play.
Which kind of makes me like, this probably isn't the case, but I really love the idea that he's done all that and be like, damn it, there's no civil war. Right, I'll go out there and tell them to bring it on.
Well, exactly. And then he comes out and like, yeah, you can't beat me. You're going to need nukes and F-15s and tanks. And it's like, actually, that isn't what would be required, Joe.
No, the Taliban strongly disagree.
Well, every revolution disagrees. Like, there's not one revolution that's required fighter jets. I'm not even joking.
I'm trying to think of one.
The revolutionaries don't have access to fighter jets. What they have access to are guerrilla fighters that go in and hit government targets at particular times, during times of political crisis. Now, I'm sure that everything will be smooth sailing for Joe Biden. There'll be no political crisis at all. But it's just wild how... And this is the thing. After they took over and the barricading of the Capitol, with the razor wire, the 20,000 troops and stuff like that, it's like, right, it really looks like they think there is some sort of soft coup going on from the Democrat side. It just really looks like it. And that's what you would do if you had just illegitimately taken over a country. You would set up these sort of things.
It also kind of reminds me, I know you talk about the fact that it's his relationship with Xi Jinping is quite strange. Yes. His appreciation of the way China does things. It comes off like that as well, because he's throwing the American project under the bus, the idea that a revolutionary war to save your liberties and all the rest of it, and enshrine them in a constitution is a good thing. That's not important, or can happen, apparently. And then he's like, yeah, what you'd need is F-15s and stuff, and you don't have that, peasants, therefore you can't rise up. I mean, this is the message the Chinese party gives off to its people, which is there's no point rising up. Come on, look at all these tanks we have at the parade. Yeah. There's nothing you can do.
But why even bring it up? Why is he talking about this? Why are they acting as if the American public is a clear and present threat to their administration? Like, why is this on their mind? That's the thing. Like, at no point during Trump's administration did I actually think there was going to be an active uprising against Trump from a bunch of latte-sipping soy boys, right?
I mean, there were insurrectionists. They were throwing fire bombs at government buildings.
But they weren't going to try and overthrow the US government.
Get into how Trump was going to deal with them.
We will, but this is the thing. Like, Joe Biden genuinely seems like they know they've done something wrong. That's the point. They're acting as if they're illegitimate. Like, these are not the actions of legitimate presidents. Legitimate presidents don't discuss nuking the American public or fighting a war against
being nuked by the American public.
Or being nuked by the American public. they don't discuss how the entire American project was actually fundamentally a mistake.
I just love the idea of MAGA.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like the just the vibe I'm getting out of the Biden administration is one of total illegitimacy.
Anyway, so the last thing here is just a let's say senior moment at least, in which Joe Biden, the puppet, is trying to walk away, and then the president of the United States, Kamala Harris, comes in and reminds him that he needs to talk about the tragedy in Florida, which is pretty weird. So let's play this clip.
Will you travel to Florida, sir? Can we ask you about Florida, what you've learned? And what
Oh, yes, I apologize. Yes, thank you, my president.
I've seen a bunch of pictures of her as well, where they keep taking photos for like the White House, Twitter page and whatnot, and it'll be like Joe with some people, and then she's like in the corner of the photo, and it looks really weird. I should have got it up, but I didn't get it in time. Anyway, last thing to best on is just some leftist regret, because who doesn't like some leftist
I love
regret? Biden voters posting their regret on lines, let's say. So the next link here is a lady. Just call her my president, yeah. What?
No, I didn't hear it. What did she say?
Oh, Biden said. Yeah.
Oh my God, did he? This isn't the first time where he said President Harris, is it?
Well, I think it's like the 10th now or something.
And he was giving a press conference the other day, and he literally said, "I've been told to say," and it's like, aren't you the president? And they previously disavowed his statements from the White House, the Biden administration.
Yeah, but so would I. So fair enough.
Well, yeah, but this is the point. There's clearly something illegitimate going on here, and the signs of it are leaking out of the administration in the things that they're doing, and they can't help themselves.
So the last thing here is just this lady. I think she's the one who went to the inauguration, in fact, and gave that really weird poem that was really creepy, and yet the leftists loved.
Oh yeah, the Hunger Games woman.
Yeah,
the
Hunger
big
Games woman
thing on her. Yeah, I remember.
So this is her, and so this is in response to an article which posts Biden warning of crime wave, diverts COVID funds to police in snub to progressives.
Get wrecked, progressives.
So this was the thing I believe we spoke about yesterday, in which he's refunding the police. So we took a lot of money away from the police, except he's not just refunding it back to 100%. It's more. So he's giving even more than was before. And
It must be something to do with all the crime. Happened.
It's obvious. But the sneaky thing he's done is he's made it available. You don't have to take it. So it's up to the local authorities to take it.
So the left-wing areas won't take it. The right-wing areas probably don't need it.
But they'll take it anyway. It's free cash.
Of course, why not? Yeah. But so it's not going to help the people who actually need help because of ideological reasons.
Yeah. Right. So it won't actually help the areas that are turning into hellholes. But at least the Republican strongholds will just get more police, I guess, so they can keep the hellholes in the hellholes.
Well, you're going to need it for when Joe Biden just decides he's going to announce the Civil War.
Yeah, so this is her posting her L online. Perfect example of how neoliberalism creates social instability by starving communities of resources and then puts taxpayer dollars towards expanding the police state instead.
Well, you voted for it.
Yeah. Enjoy your presidency. Anyway. That's that.
Orange Man was great.
Orange Man didn't do nothing.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.